as JinAir have not impressed, and Afreeca have looked great. So this is definitely one series where you throw your hat in as analyst and say everything points to Afreeca winning, unless JinAir have been doing some crazy work behind the scenes.
Yeah. Well, we're going to find out in just a few minutes as we get ready to get into that first game. Draft up on your screens. First ban away, of course, is going to be Mickey's Twisted Fate. That has been respect banned away from him, and I mean, I don't even know how many games it's been now. So many matches have gone by where that's just a must ban against him. Owlstar as well coming out against Che. It's going to be the follow-up on the Varus, which has just become that must-pick, must-ban champion. So these teams would rather ban it than have it on the board.
So the most powerful pick for the Afreeca Freecs in particular, apart from Ixu's top lane pool, has been the Jungle Graves from Lira. Lira's looked massively impressive. We just casted a game with him last week where he pulled off one of the most amazing 5th Dragon secures you could ever hope for. Quick drawing over the back of the pool, ulting back in as if it was 90 caliber net, and then stealing it with the smite. His Graves has been super powerful. It's been a power pick for the team. And actually, we're going to see a Graves ban on red side. Wing just played it, but not necessarily impressed on it. They don't want to give away the Graves, and that means that Rise insta-locked at first pick.
Yeah, a little interesting that they do ban the Graves. I don't think that JinAir would have gone for this first, but Rise does get picked up here. But this does open up a plethora of other things that could be grabbed by Afreeca. The Echo, most notably, going to be available coming into this round. Azir, of course, was banned away, as was Nidalee.
Sivir is available.
So Sivir is available. You could just go ahead, pick up that Echo and Sivir, or maybe secure another jungle pick, Kha'Zix. This is something that
and look, he's definitely hovering it here. This is a bit of fun. There's a real chance that Kha'Zix is locked in, just because Kha'Zix, it feels like on the weight of buffs is good, but not in this round of the draft.
Yeah, you need to see more of the enemy team before you lock the Kha'Zix in. We saw this recently.
You take the Sivir. Sivir is probably the strongest champion on this patch next to Rise, so
yeah,
makes
NA doesn't play her.
Look, I watch drafts and I see Sivir and Rise falling through picks and bans sometimes, and I'm like, oh, I see.
And the Echo. It was a bizarre draft during that TSM Immortals game. I don't know what was going on.
Well, I mean, you just look at the support picks that are being contested in NA and know that NA are definitely playing on their own little island when it comes to some of these global meta picks that have been very powerful. Speaking of champions that aren't big in NA, Trundle, most likely for the support role, it's picked up for Che.
Yeah. Kindred here, 4 wings, so we'll see what kind of jungler Lira wants to match with. I'm not sure, I mean, obviously, Kha'Zix is somebody that we haven't seen widespread in quite some time, so I have no idea how that matchup even goes remotely for Kindred into Kha'Zix.
So the thing about Kha'Zix is that Kha'Zix is in the weight of multiple patches where he got buffed, and I feel like there's a world where he works. It's just when we finally saw Lira break it out, it was with LeBlanc and the Kha'Zix, and a very low wave play team. I believe it was Kalista AD carry, and it was one of those situations where you snowball early or you lose. But in a much more balanced comp, I think there's space for something like Kha'Zix, but not necessarily in a match as important as this one. Elise is the last meta jungle that's available. Nidalee banned away, Graves banned away, Kindred taken out. It's those top 4. Gragas is more of a top laner now with the way the meta's changed. Gragas jungle in some regions is still played, but not so much in champions, and it makes a lot of sense for Lira to stick with the Elise.
Yeah, I saw maybe we would see the Gragas to displace off of the Lambs or spite something like that, but it will be Elise, as you said, and Braum for Snowflower as well. JinAir knows that Songyun wants that Kalista, so they might be able to pick around this. But now we can see Kuzan threatening this Zed pickup. We do not see the mid laner, of course, here for Mickey. Has been held for this last pick. Lucian gets locked.
We haven't seen Mickey actually counter-picking with red side. It seems like Afreeca more been picking the Lulus and the safer laners and allowing Ixu to get the champion counter-pick. With the Echo lock early, makes sense to leave a pick open. What are we going to see from Mickey? It's going to be a mid lane matchup against the Rise. A lot of potential champions you could run in there. Is it going to be something to try and pressure him in lane? Are they going to try and force Silent Bush? He's got Ignite, Summoner spell selected, so definitely an outside chance of the Zed.
He is holding on to this hover for quite some time here, and we've seen this banned away from him considerable amount of times as well. Mickey very well known for his Zed as much as his Twisted Fate.
I'd be surprised. I feel like maybe Karma would be a bit...
I don't know.
That would make a bit more sense. Even Karma with Ignite to pressure, but Teleport will make a lot more. Corki is one of his standards. The last time these two teams played was famously, the last time actually Mickey played Corki, where he blind packaged and then Valkyrie'd into the enemy jungle and promptly died.
Yeah, that was an interesting play. It's like, sorry guys, and they're like, oh, it's okay, we're 15,000 ahead, and they were 7,000 ahead. But it will be the Corki locked in here for Mickey. So going for that champion that managed to worm his way through the pick and ban here.
But
last pick Corki, that's something we haven't seen in a while.
Sure, and it's a good laning matchup against the Ryze. He'll be able to free harass, but...
I mean, you figure you're going to have a much earlier power spike than this Ryze, who's going to have to double scale with a Rod of Ages and a tier, so you can take advantage of that lane quite early.
And look, JinAir's style is to play towards the late game, and again, we find ourselves in a match where late game, this Ryze is going to have great targets to burst down, both Corki, Sivir, not very much tankiness about them. He's got a very strong front line in front of them. Definitely there's a situation where Ryze gets the late game and can overpower this Afreeca lineup, but they have so much laning power. They could be pushing in all three lanes, and JinAir's early game, which had been always defensive-minded, looked pretty organized at the start of the season, Wing putting down defensive vision. This is a situation where they have 3 losing lanes and a Kindred, probably going to be a Devourer Kindred.
Yeah.
JinAir have been blown away in the early game multiple times recently, and this is certainly looking like another potential time where, unless they can really take this game early, you have to worry that this game might be over at the 25 minutes before any of these champions can scale.
Yeah, and Afreeca has been proving consistently, time and time again, that they can perform in the early game. So JinAir are going to have to hold on tight and try to make it that late game if they want to come out on top. Because scaling is going to take them quite some time. The only early game they really have is going to be Pilot on that Lucian. So this will be an interesting matchup and a great way to kick things off for playoffs. We'll see if Afreeca can continue this meteoric rise to the top and go on to face SK Telecom by taking down JinAir GreenWings, or if JinAir is going to have a return to form. We'll find out. Let's get right into game 1. It's coming at you in just a few seconds. All right, look at that.
It's a bit of magic in the air, Achilles. Only that one time of year, spring playoffs.
And I am excited to be here. My first playoffs here, champions, Papa.
Well, strap yourselves in. It's only a best of 3, but...
Myself in? All of myselves.
You and your ego, of course. Strap them both in because
Fair
this
enough.
could be an exciting one. JinAir, of course, want to pull it late. They
Oh,
wanna pull it
yeah.
long. We're going to start with a pause. Maybe we're even going to start with a bit of fill time, Achilles.
What better way to get things going for my first playoffs?
We
It's like
can
my
set
first
the
cast.
narratives now.
Yeah, we could. I mean, I think we've set the narrative, but
There's more narrative to this.
do tell.
I mean, this is just a really interesting match. JinAir,
Oh, of course it is.
JinAir's fall or failures or why they've fallen down, it's kind of one of those mental exercises where JinAir, when they were doing well, you're kind of like, I don't really know why this team is winning. And now they're losing. I don't really know why this team is losing. And it's to some degree because the meta kind of moved past them. The meta right now is very much about double TP. It's very much about ranged junglers, Graves, Kindred, Nidalee and Elise. These are all the junglers that we either banned or picked in this series. And it just feels like the meta has gone so far from the start of the season, where Trace was surprising us with carry top after carry top, with lane pressure. In this lane swap meta, JinAir have really struggled to get away with delaying the games, opting to 4-5 dragons and taking it down because they've just been blown out in the mid game. Big double teleport plays, of course, the Rox Tigers innovating the likes of the Lissandra Maokai flanks and Sivir just wave clearing in mid. These are sort of plays that JinAir just haven't been as good at working around and to really help them down, whereas Afreeca, their genesis into a top side has been just one of the coolest things of all.
Yeah, it's been pretty crazy how much of a turnaround these had. Just basically polar opposite starts here. We thought Afreeca was going to be starting off and having a good season, and they really just tanked out in round 1, and JinAir, against all odds, surprised the hell out of us by really outperforming themselves. And now we hit round 2, and suddenly just like, oh wait, we were supposed to be doing this instead. And they just turn things around, and suddenly everything is going swimmingly for Afreeca and not so well for JinAir, as they're looking like they might be drowning.
drowning under the lights, but Afreeca have certainly been swimming. They've been swimming upwards. They've been swimming up the stream. It's been JinAir the ones that have been definitely on the free fall.
And be the Afreeca Salmons. Salmon, I guess, is just a...
That's true. That is their plural name. The double ward, Lyra, denied.
The Salmons. English sometimes.
English is tough, but we'll try and keep our command of it together. But Afreeca's story, just their genesis, because, I mean, Rebels Anarchy last season, Mickey and Friends is what we affectionately called them. Does Mickey get that assassin and carry, or do they lose? That was basically the story with the Afreeca Freecs, with the Rebel Anarchy, and then over the course of the offseason, had no sponsor. Famously, Mickey was #1 challenger with the username Please Sponsor Anarchy. Afreeca, the streaming platform, Afreeca.tv, finally sponsored Afreeca right at the end. Only went into effect just about a week before Champions started, and it was definitely not a honeymoon phase. 1-6 for the start of the season. They were struggling. They still very much... I feel like the first series was the most interesting one, because the season started with Afreeca versus KT. Afreeca against their old coach, Achani, as we see the Afreeca fans.
Oh, yeah. Everybody just sporting these images of the entire Afreeca roster. Lots of support coming up for these guys.
His standard lanes, but that first match, it was Afreeca against their old coach, who was playing support for KT, of course, and Shani. And the first 2 bans, Twisted Fate and Zed. And for the next 7 series, every single game, teams would copy pick those bans. They would always ban Twisted Fate and Zed, and Mickey would have no answer, and there was no other carries on the lineup. But just because Mickey has always absorbed those 2 bans, finally the rest of his team started to pick up champion pools that really did play into the meta. Ever since their upswing, they were 1-6, and in the season 10-8, in that upswing, they're 7-0 with Sivir. So Sangyu showing that he can play the Sivir to go along with the Kalista that he played very well. Look at Ixu, gets a lot more poppy than anyone else does.
And Lyra.
And Lyra getting the Graves, 10-2 Graves ever since that 1-6 loss streak. So finally the team developed with what they were given. They were given a superstar assassin mid laner. He was answered by bans, and now the rest of the team have done their job. They've had the freedom to get access to priority picks like Kalista, Sivir, and Ryze that just other teams can't get because they don't have a single player that demands so much respect. And from that respect, they've actually turned into a 5-man lineup that can play early, they can take it late, they have good shot calling. They were always a strong early game team. Even when they were 1-6, they were top 4 in terms of goal difference at 15. But they just put it all together, and that's why it's a pleasure to see them on the river.
Yep. And Mickey's been making strides to move away from just those assassin-centric champions.
His most played champion this season is Lulu, which is a bizarre thing to think about.
Which has had its ups and down moments, I would say, for his Lulu performance, but overall, Afreeca as a whole, as you said, have just been coming into their own. You can see, though, a little bit of a dive attempt here up on the top side. Ixu going to get locked down. Of course, does not have that ultimate available. TP coming through as Lyra again trying to finish this off. Repel comes up. Jumps back over to the waves, but Kuzan arrives and will be able to trade back a kill. So it's going to be a 1-for-1, but first blood goes over to the Freaks.
That was a bit messy. That was a bit of playoff jitters. We actually heard the JinAir coach in the pre-game interview talking about the potential advantage of having played in playoffs before, and that was definitely rough execution. Lyra's execution's been great. Hasn't been playing these skill shot junglers, mostly been playing the Graves. He missed the Cocoon, and from there, the juggling of the aggro wasn't ideal. Sure, they go 1-for-1, but Ryze picking up a blue buff helps his early game in lane against the Corki. Won't be able to go pick up the early tier, but exiting lane doesn't lose much, only a bit of CS, and in general, that's a lot ventured for not much gained for the Afreeca Freecs.
Yep. That's going to be a nice pickup there for Kuzan. Start the scaling items coming in even faster. Wings coming up here. The Frog's not going to jump over the wall. Doesn't want to jump straight into the face of Lyra. Will spot out this ward.
It's worth noting that standard lanes is exactly what Afreeca were looking for. We mentioned that they have winning lanes in at least 2 out of the 3, but you definitely give early, perhaps the advantage to Maokai. We're going to see Lyra return to top.
Yeah, Ixu going to get the shield. Cannot
Minion
find
was so big. Though.
Yeah, massive wave. Do not want to fight in that one, so Lyra and Ixu just going to have to back off.
We'll lose the pink ward as well. This is the second time they've kind of traded down with how much they've committed to ganking top.
Yep, we can see Ixu taking a lot of punishment there.
So the
by
reason,
tracing that wave.
The reason why you see Lira visiting top. Obviously in this case it's because he's already blown the flash, but the other reason is that the other two lanes naturally win. This is the only lane that early Maokai actually does fine against Echo. It's only when Echo gets items and levels that he really starts to become too much for Maokai to handle. So Lira just trying to help the one question mark lane.
Who's on though? Can he engage on? That's going to be the exhaust coming through. Flashes, predicts the flash, gets the cocoon underneath the tower, but Lira gets locked up, repels there, taking the safety. TP comes in from Trace. Can he get any real damage in here onto this Elise? Might go down for it. One more auto attack, a flash forward by Mickey, takes him down. Nicely executed by Afreeca, and a beautiful prediction by Lira with that cocoon.
Well, Lira, the jitters in the first one, acceptable if you're going to pull off a really smart prediction.
He shook it off real quick.
On the 45-degree cocoon, very nicely played, and then the health bar, you just felt like Trace assumed that the health bar would be lower on Lira, tried to take him down in one burst, couldn't do it, and suddenly Afreeca had a massive early advantage. Look at the gold, it's 1,300 gold at 6 minutes.
That was wonderfully played by Afreeca in that mid side. Wish we got a replay of it.
We'll get that.
Because that was a wonderful catch onto Trace.
Trace was already 15 CS down in lane. Ixu didn't have to follow, he could just push up the lane. Gets the Dark Seal, this has been the trademark build of course. Dark Seal to get more potion value and theoretically some AP in the late game if he gets synergized with his stats.
I said on to Trace, on to Kuzan.
Sure. That's okay, Achilles.
Ow. They both died.
They're both JinAir solo laners.
Who happened to die in exchange. But yeah, like you said, early lead coming out here.
Again, the early lead means so much when early power spikes are also there for Afreeca, and we have to keep mentioning it. Devourer Kindred has to be expected to be the jungle enchant. That's been basically only Devourer Kindred.
There you go.
Confirmed now with the recurve bow pickup. Low lane pressure, losing early lanes, and a Devourer jungler. If Afreeca keep up their previous game style, which has been early objectives, has been keeping the pressure on early, I don't see how JinAir won't just roll over and die.
I have to agree with you, Papa Smithy. I don't see it either. See though, pretty much a stalemate in that bottom side for the moment. No one really inching ahead. Song Yu keeping even with Pilot just about as far as the CS goes. Has had to use his biscuit. I was going to say potion, but had to use his biscuit. Keep himself alive down there, taking a little bit of harass here. Jay is using those pillars very aggressively to set up for those piercing lights in the double tap.
It's worth noting that even though I've talked about bot lane being a losing matchup, Lucian does trade very well with Sivir early. I'm mostly talking about lane pressure.
Sure.
Sivir should be able to push it out, especially after the first item, but we'll lose the trades early with the piercing light.
And you can't really get out shoved either because you have that ricochet with the boomerang blades.
Lane pressure is going to be the issue, is that if you have winning lanes, if you have lanes with pressure, the likes of Sivir, something like a Corki with the Kindred, then Kindred finds that space to focus mostly on farming, but be there for the counter ganks. In this situation where you're always worried about turret dives, where you're always worried about invasions onto the Kindred, it just becomes that much more difficult for the Kindred to balance stacking up the Devourer and also ensuring that the lanes just don't fall hopelessly behind.
Yep, you can see Tyr and the Catalyst of the Protector have been picked up here by Kuzan. He's going to just start that ever-scaling climb for himself. We'll be seeing that a Rod of Ages coming in the next, I don't know, 7, 8 minutes, probably, hopefully for his sake. Did get that second kill of the game, so has a little bit of extra gold in his pocket over top the CS numbers as well. But Mickey coming back already has the Phage with the Sheen. Going to be doing a lot of damage as well with that Brawler's Glove, so Crit in tow.
One of the fun things about getting standard lanes against JinAir to go on is because of this lane advantage and the pressure advantage they have in their lanes, also the fact that it's Elise versus Kindred. In terms of jungle pressure advantage, they have that as well. If this had been a lane swap, you know, simply that you would have been able to dodge these tough matchups, but the other flow-on effect from lane swaps is that you trade objectives, right? It's all about turrets being traded, but also Rift Herald traded for Dragon, things like that. There's no free objectives in standard lanes, so Afreeca won't be giving away free Dragons or free Rift Heralds. They might actually be dominating both those if they get in a position to take the Dragon shortly. And so JinAir might actually be without a Dragon or a turret for an extended amount in this game, just because they haven't picked lanes that get the sort of pressure that opens up things like Dragons or Rift Heralds as realistic early pickups.
Well, they do see that The bottom lane of Afreeca have swapped over to the top side of the map. Now going to be going for some deep warding. And we could see a really late swap and these tower trades coming out all the same. So Rift Herald down here. Of course, and Lyra rocking the buff, so they come from the top side. They're going to be able to work this tower down very quickly.
At least with the Rift Herald buff, so a ranged jungler, very good at taking turrets. JinAir by far second to this, and they're against Sivir and a Rift Herald, so this is certainly going to be a 2-for-1 trade unless Afreeca do something, and no, unless JinAir do something, and no, they're in no position to respond.
I think JinAir have to probably just go for the Dragon off of this one. Mickey though getting engaged on Ixu coming around the side, not going to be able to land the parallel convergence. Goes out the Time Winder, will not connect. The tier 2 goes down in the top side of the map. JinAir just now getting to the tier 2. And now we can see Afreeca just going to pinch around to this mid side. Is warded out in the jungle, so they will be spotted. But they're going to go ahead and net themselves this turret. So going to trade the bot tier 2, but they net the mid tier 1 as well. So overall, it's going to be a 3-for-2 in favor of Afreeca.
Remember, this is also a 4-for-2 effectively. It's Rift Herald and 3 turrets just for 2. And while JinAir can put down a ward around Dragon, they're certainly in no position to pick it up. Afreeca got so many objectives and crucially took down Ryze's mid lane turret. The outer mid lane turret, Ryze is a weak laner, always been famous for being turret dive. Now he has even less space to find safe farms. Certainly the sort of champion that doesn't apply lane pressure, probably gonna have to be hanging around his inner turret. This is great because now Ryze is scaling, picking up that safe farm. It's going to be so much more shallower in terms of the map, and it's going to be more free objectives for Afreeca.
Yeah, we can see Mickey completing the Trinity Force here at the 12-minute mark. Going to be vastly ahead of Kuzan in any of his items as he goes back just to get the Blasting Wand. And pretty sure Mickey is just going to go ahead and go straight for a Hex Drinker second item. And it'll just give him that much more trading potential against this Ryze in the mid lane.
This game has been played at exactly the pace Afreeca Freecs want it to be. Trinity Force versus literally just component parts of Ryze's late game items is unbelievable. Trinity Force Scorpion's most famous one-item power spike in the game. No way for them to even come close to contesting Dragon.
Yep.
They're going to try and peek around.
Well, they're going to try to contest this one as the TP does come
out
from the Maokai, being matched here by Ixu as well. Snowflower taking a lot of damage, going to have to hightail it out of here. Kuzan on the chase in the backside. Now Afreeca actually getting split up a little bit. It's going to be Snowflower going down. Repel comes through from Lyra. Looks like he will be able to escape, but Ixu not going to be able to say the same. So they get the Dragon, but they do lose 2 members off of that play. So maybe getting a little overzealous there. Afreeca not able to pull back fast enough.
That was really messy shot calling from Afreeca. I thought they'd be fine. Again, they had the item timings to do it. But just the way this fight went, they all fan back. The teleport, it's second. It's like, and it is also an Echo teleport. The thing to remember here is that Echo's teleports obviously impact much slower and much more reactionary, much more setup time than the Maokai. So they get 2 quick picks. Both Mickey and Samyun with so much gold over their opponents, unable to get any auto attacks in at all. So credit to JinAir making a play off where I didn't think they had any chance to.
Yeah, it looks like a little bit of a split call coming out from Afreeca. Started moving back down the river instead of just exiting up to the top side. If they had exited with Snowflower, maybe they still would have lost him, but they would have been able to get out alive, maybe even taking down Kuzan at the same time. So a little bit of interesting plays coming out from them on the backside of that Dragon. Still are maintaining a bit of a lead here. As we can see, it's about 1.4 thousand gold. They're looking to add a little bit more to that tally as they start pressuring out this bottom tier 1 tower, the last tier 1 standing on the opposing side of the map. But still not going to be able to find any opening for it quite just yet.
There's those teleport plays where JinAir can try and get back into the game. I mentioned it's not their strong, so they look poor trying to pull off the double teleport plays that the Rocks Tigers made famous in recent weeks. But, oh, we've seen another teleport play.
Yeah, TP coming in from Kuzan. Snowflower just going to flash over the wall. Songyu eating that culling. Solo, slowed up by the pillar. He's going to go down. Pilot finds the kill. Not going to be able to find one on Snowflower as he does use Stand Behind Me to get the safety, but a nice pick off by JinAir. Net themselves the kill lead. However, Rift Herald, second of the game, going down to Afreeca up on that top side of the map. So, Afreeca not sitting back and letting themselves be punished. They are picking up global objectives here while their members fall. But still, JinAir looking like they're finally able to make some plays to get themselves back into this game.
Yeah, this is actually a development in the JinAir playbook that they're able to pull off these cross-map picks with their double teleport. It is a TP advantage because Corki has taken Exhaust in the mid lane, poking on a teleport mid lane, just like Azir would be picking up those combat summoners. But the thing for Afreeca is their late game team fight is strong, but it's not the teleport engage that we think of. It's not teleport flank Maokai, it's not teleport flank Rise. It's again about being organized. In the late game, you can be a 5-man group and be very powerful, but in the early game, with a teleport disadvantage, with a reactionary champion like Echo, much more hard for them to impact lanes. So JinAir, taking advantage of the picks they have, getting picks across the map, it's just needing to translate that into objectives to answer what was Afreeca's really smart early Rift Herald push.
Well, we can see full 5 members of either side gravitating down towards the spot lane. Trace, no TP available quite just yet. Gonna be the late one to arrive. Kuzan rolling down around that red buff as well. No wave here, so not gonna be able to get any real damage in onto that tower. Wing takes a little bit of a chunk, but still gonna have that Lamb's Respite available in his pocket should he need to pull it out. Ixu looks like he's gonna go ahead and roam back up toward this mid side. TP not up for him, so this should be the disengage from Afreeca. You don't want to posture too far forward without the bulk of your team.
As you mentioned, back away, no other neutral objectives to pick up. Looking at the gold leads. Again, just really efficient early item build from Mickey as Lyra gets stunned up.
Yeah, completely pinned into that wall, taking a lot of damage, has to repel up, but there's nowhere to go. Jumps on the Pilot, flashes over the wall. The Pilot will be able to chase with the dash and finishes him off with the piercing light. Nicely played there by JinAir. Unfortunate for Lyra, just getting stuck in the wall where he could not go. Kind of amazed that he didn't just flash out of that wall and go toward his team instead of repelling into the enemy, but a little bit of a misplay there. Mickey coming in, trying to get Pilot. Valks forward, exhausted, but the TP immediately being matched here by Trace. Kuzan cannot follow up. Mickey, though, in a bad spot between a troll and a giant tree, and now a pillar. Pilot gonna be able to, nope, never mind. Trace is gonna finish him off, and now Snowflower too far forward, getting caught and rooted down. Tries to jump the Songyun, but just can't go far enough, and Afreeca are completely fumbling now.
Afreeca's not playing around their vision, being far too aggressive.
Oh, and Songyun, pillar comes down, has to force the flash. Kuzan still trying to go a little aggressive. TP coming out from Ixu, gonna hold on to this tower as long as he can. I don't know if he can re-engage this one. Gets rooted out immediately, throws down the parallel convergence, won't be able to find anything. So just like that, TP down on the side of Afreeca.
But that was certainly a chain of events, Achilles.
I don't know what Afreeca's doing. This is just falling apart for them where before they were looking so strong.
I mean, Mickey Valkyrieing in or packaging in aggressively.
I guess that's becoming a theme for him on Corki.
That's definitely his way on the Corki, but it's everyone else just one by one falling down, all from Lyra, taking that effective 6-second stun next to terrain. That's what happens.
Snowflower in the middle of the lane.
That's what happens when you have the Trundle pillar right next to a wall. You do sometimes have those awkward scenarios where you are effectively stunned. I guess snared is the correct thing because you can flash. For 6 seconds, resulted in his death, but then everyone else in his team basically having a brain fade at the same time. We talked about playoff nerves. We saw them at the start of this game, and they seem to be cropping up again in the mid game.
Yeah. Afreeca gonna have to do some work here. Still have a very slight gold lead as well as that dragon for themselves, but going near even here with JinAir is a very bad look for them. You can see they start up the dragon, immediately have to back off. Jay getting ready to pitch, they do pop on the hunt. Pillar comes down to slow up most of the team. Snowflower jumping forward. There's out the Glacial Fisher, gonna go wide. Kind of zoning winged up the lane though as they do jump on him. Will be able to stun him. Lamb's Spike gonna have to come down, but Snowflower looking like he might fall. Now Ixu on the run, has to snap back with the ultimate. Nowhere to run. Just trying to delay the rest of JinAir as long as he possibly can, but it's not doing enough. This Trace still makes it on the Snowflower, blew the flash, locked him down and killed him. And now JinAir will be able to pick up their first dragon here at the 19-minute mark.
Just surreal things again, Achilles, the target priority, just the team fight call of going all in on a Kindred. They knew his flash was available, Lamb's Respite was available, walking down a long lane. They didn't really have the chase CC to catch him either, using so many resources, flash, Bromald, and everything just to chase down Wing. First it was Che, then they changed target. Just look at Snowflower just turboing down the lane. They miss ult, they hit the Q, and they're still going all in. This is a team with a double AD backline of Corki Sivir who needs to be peeled for. Brom uses his whole health bar just to start chasing down. Ixu also chasing down just one member, just the Kindred. It means it's once again a team fight where neither Mickey nor Songyun can do any damage. Full health, but irrelevant in the fight. And JinAir, they must be surprised to find the situation they've been put in, but Afreeca just giving them these fights on a silver platter.
Yep. I think Ixu has Travel time all the way back to round 1, Papa Smithy, because it's looking like a game straight out of that.
I mean, Echo's strength is almost predominantly in the laning phase. You finish items like Sunfire Cape, Iceborne Gauntlet, Spirit Visage, and you just dominate the tank tops, or if you see a Lissandra, for example, or Cannon flexed into top, you can dominate those picks and have kill potential on them as well. Your team fighting, it's good, but it's mostly about peeling defensively, just because chasing, while it's something you can do in a 1v1 sense, this is a team he needs to peel for. He needs to take up zone space for, and Afreeca going for something pretty cute here, but this is a high-risk play.
Yeah, Lyra already taking a lot of damage. They have 4 members here. Vicky's still sticking around, but Trace is going to come up. Yep, does spot them out with the ward. This should be the disengage from Afreeca, or at least I hope so for their sake. Ixu going low as well. This is not looking good. The rest of JinAir pitching in. Here comes Kuzan. Gets stolen away by Wing Demon, and 2 members going to go down. 3 to follow as Snowflower falls in the end. A devastating play by Afreeca, and I think they might have just put a nail in their coffin.
I mean, this is the final nail perhaps, but there's been a couple in a row, Achilles. Ever since that first missed Cocoon, you're like, okay, bit of those playoff heebie-jeebies coming out, but man, at this point, the butterflies are really rotating around the stadium because they've effectively donated Baron buff over to JinAir.
Yeah, JinAir are just going to work down the base of Afreeca now. Lyra and Songyu just respawning. Not much of a wave for JinAir as the next one does start coming in, but can't really get onto this tower. We'll put a little bit of damage down on it, but still net themselves that tier 2. We'll just have to see what else JinAir can take, but look at the gold. We're almost to a 6,000 gold lead here. Lyra trying to get on the wing. Lamb's Respite's available. I don't know if it's going to do enough to keep them alive in time for the rest of the team to arrive. It will not. That is Songyun getting the kill, so a very slight reprieve on the backside of that horrible play by Afreeca.
And you just look at the items that JinAir didn't have at 0 minutes. Now it's 22 minutes. They have at a much faster clip than usual. Watching the replay, again, they didn't need to do this, Afreeca. We can say that about a lot of the plays they've made. One super intelligent one where they took the Rift Herald, traded up in objectives. That was definitely indicative of the Afreeca of the second round robin, but we're back to round 1. Afreeca, with just some of their shot points been desperately, desperately poor. They forced down a 20-minute Baron. Even after it was spotted off, you mentioned it. Are they going to peel away? And unfortunately, I had that feeling no, because that is not the sort of level-headed shot point they've shown during this game.
Not at all. And things are not looking very good here for the line of Afreeca Freecs.
I mean, the phase where Afreeca win is before items come through for Ryze, before items come through for Kindred, before Devourer is sated. Well, guess what? Sated Devourer, more Malmortius on the way, double core scaling items completed for Kuzan, and the Baron buff too, just to amplify all those stats. That waiting game is over, and it's so much accelerated purely because of the overzealousness of Afreeca.
And it is a little bit understanding. You know, you can understand why they're playing this way, not being in the playoffs before. But still, this is not the team that we were expecting to come out today. Afreeca maybe just have to start formulating their plan for game 2 here as the dregs of their base get wiped away by JinAir.
It's not like this 5-man unit from JinAir is poor in the late game. They're very, very strong.
Oh, yeah.
The only reason why the draft is criticized is because you can't get away with 3 losing lanes against a pressure team like Afreeca. You're literally talking about the second strongest early game rating team in the league next to the Rocks Tigers against JinAir, who's been struggling in the early game, who've only looked good in the late game, much like CJ Entus in that way. So you're just like, okay, one team's playing to their strengths, one team's playing to the reason why they've been losing a lot recently. Afreeca's won the draft. Well, I guess if Afreeca just donate kill after kill and then a Baron, you just throw all that analysis out the window and you just lose, I guess.
They wanted to give a handicap over the JinAir, I suppose, and they just gave them a little bit too much.
But it's the LPL that has the weighted one game over to the higher seeded team. This is not supposed to be the free win. But
that's true.
Seems like we're going to start with a weighted best of 3.
It does seem that way. And there's not really a win condition in sight for Afreeca. Third dragon of the game getting ready to spawn in about 30 seconds now. 1 each. That is a far cry of a hope for Afreeca to be able to pick up 5 dragons.
Well, Ryze has a 1,400 gold lead with a Devourer, Jungler, and losing lanes. So that's something.
That's dirty. I'm really surprised Mickey going up against this Ryze did not go for the Hex Drinker as a second item, still stuck to the Infinity Edge. I guess because they were looking to make those more global plays.
I mean, this is the build that's very much been very common on Corki. It's all about getting the most value out of the magic damage crits from the Infinity Edge, so it is very popular for that reason.
Sure. I just expected going up against a high burst damage mage like Ryze, you would, maybe not burst, but very consistent damage mage like Ryze, you would want something like that Hex Drinker to trade more evenly, but looks like he is just going to keep it more standard build. Well, now picking up a Zeal, probably for the rapid fire cannon.
Before this game went so sideways, he had Trinity Force and the BF sword, and if the Ryze is held down, you know, he had his outer turret taken early, as expected, Infinity Edge makes perfect sense.
That is true.
It's just that by the time he finishes Infinity Edge, everyone had taken their turn throwing over some gold to the side of JinAir, and here's the result. It's a 7,000 gold lead for JinAir. It's a surreal world to be in.
Ugh.
I agree. That's how I look at this game. Ugh.
There's not many words in the English language that can accurately...
that feeling when your 2-item Echo's running away from the Maokai.
Get away from me. I want nothing to do with you, you big tree.
It's opposite day.
Trace is like, all right, fine. I'm just going to go mess up the rest of your team. TP's in by the Wolves. That's going to be the Valkyrie there by Mickey. Still gets caught. Trace goes over the wall, and he's going to go down. Shay finds the kill. And that is pretty bad here for JinAir. You can see Trace gets caught by the Cocoon. It's like, whatever.
I mean, Trace is massive.
I got Sap Magic, man.
People love to take Maokai into Echo just because the team comp, just good team fight. Well,
all the hunt gets popped. Not sure if it's going to do too much as the tower already has been burned out. Ixu locked up, has to snap back in. Look at that, no damage going over on the side of JinAir. Just too damn tanky, too far ahead. And that is going to be the Echo going down now. 40 seconds on the clock. 15 till Mickey comes back up. What are JinAir going to do? Wave's not really in a good position for them to rotate up to the top or bottom sides. So it looks like they're just going to have to peel back. Be satisfied by taking down the inhibitor.
Afreeca initiating 4v5 lets you know they're pretty damn tilted at this point, which doesn't bode well. I'm going to have to hope that the coaching staff who we saw interviewed before the series can calm some of these hotheads down, because this showed a really good game plan early. I really like the turret dive. Okay, they didn't pull off the mechanics in that first turret dive.
It was a little bit botched. But
that's fine. You're allowed a single hiccup in
playoffs. They got the
playoffs.
first blood at least.
And then taking the Rift Herald and taking 4 objectives for 2 was a masterstroke. That was excellent. It's just every single decision from there was a chain of misadventures, you'd have to say, from Afreeca that was all coronated with the donation of a Baron buff at 21 minutes to JinAir. So Stacking Ryze got an extra Baron buff. He got a blue buff donated to him with the teleport as well. Donations have been real. It's been a very charitable performance from Afreeca.
That has been. Oh, and Lyra.
Well, someone has to be caught every 2 minutes, apparently.
Like, wait, we haven't been given the kill? Oh, okay, don't worry, I got it.
There's not even any wards, really, on the side from Afreeca.
Why is your in the middle of the lane? I just don't understand. That's just going to be another free Baron going over. I was just about to say, like, it would take a miraculous Baron steal to maybe get Afreeca back into this game. And then it's just going to be second Baron very easily going over to JinAir GreenWings, who look like they're just going to push up toward this top side. Ixu is at least splitting the bot side, so the wave is keeping very far away from the base, but they're just going to lose another inhibitor and maybe even a Nexus tower here off this push if they can get some picks.
Well, they can definitely get some picks. That is certainly something that's open to them. Echo finally gets back to base.
Definitely going to get some towers and another inhibitor as this one's getting ready to fall. Parallel conversion into the back side. Kuzan going to be the only one locked up. Ixu has to immediately back off. Snowflower trying to tank up at the front. Not going to be able to find anything. Wing uses Slam Spite, hops over the wall to keep himself alive here. Afreeca whittling away though at the front line of JinAir, but can't find anything that sticks to really get a kill. Now Super Creeps coming into that mid side. They're just going to have to back off. JinAir just opened up the map that much more in their favor. 10,000 gold lead just about on the board.
Actually a pretty resilient defense for a team that was 10,000 gold behind.
Quite surprising.
Again, you have to add the caveat of a defense after now you're top and previously mid inhibitors are down.
No,
so.
top stayed alive.
Actually, so you're correct. The inhibitor turret down, but the inhibitor alive.
Yeah. Did not lose that one. Because it was really the engage by Ixu, I guess, that diving into that backside that made them peel back. Wing getting caught a little bit below the rest of the team, hopping over the wall. It dissuaded them from sticking around and going for the inhibitor. But still, an admirable hold by Afreeca, but I think that's all it's really going to be in the end.
Kuzan's actually been able to go a luxury build, went for Deathcap third before the Void Staff, before Guardian Angel. That's actually been as early as a third item pickup for first Sarsen and then Huhi for CLG. But why not when you have all the extra gold that Kuzan was able to pick up this game?
Yeah. See Mickey going for the Kerchase Shard. Wants that static shift for the extra wave clear. But against these Baron Power minions, not going to do a whole hell of a lot. Falling does get blocked here by Snowflower. Still chunks it down to about 55% HP. Kuzan providing that split pressure up at the top side. TP is available for him. Trace as well. So if Kuzan gets in some trouble, the Maokai will be able to answer. But it's really just death knocking on the door of Afreeca's base right now.
No Void Staff for Kuzan, so even though he has a lot of ability power, Ixu should be able to hold fast.
Even the Rise's auto attacks just damage the hell out of those inhibitors.
Last inhibitor turret down for Afreeca.
Yep, inhibitor falls on the top side. Minions coming in on top, on the hunt, gonna get popped. Can they find anything? There's no teleport flank coming in. Ixu has nowhere to go. TP being burned down here by Kuzan to join the team, and Afreeca just gonna have to peel straight back. Super Crepes are on to the Nexus Towers, and that's just going to open up for this bottom inhibitor to fall as Pilot is just whittling away at it.
In a macro sense, Afreeca knew how to play this team comp, but in a teamfight sense, these desperation Sivir ult engages with literally no engaged champions have been embarrassing to watch.
Yeah, Snowflower goes at the Glacial Fissure, takes a hell of a lot of damage. Trace lock up in the front line. Here comes Mickey into the back. Immediately gets popped by Winged, however. Lyra and Ixu looking like they're gonna follow, and they do. Pilot just working through him in the backside, almost goes down, dashes away nicely, keeping himself at range from Ixu, still able to finish him off in the end, but this should just be a triple kill going over to Kuzan. That's gonna be the ace, that's gonna be the game. JinAir GreenWings, after a strong start by Afreeca, come back in off that Baron steal and just walk away with this game.
Just incomprehensible, there's no other way to say it. You don't want to talk about what one team's done wrong. You want to reward the team that's played smart. But JinAir have just kind of kept their heads down, played the team comp that they want to. I mean, they have to wait for minions to push up, so maybe not.
Yeah, they got 18 seconds on Mickey. So actually maybe JinAir don't win quite just yet, but they will have 3 inhibitors down. So it's pretty much done, but Afreeca will get to hold on for a little bit longer.
JinAir had that really nice teleport in and contested a dragon that I thought was going to be free for Afreeca, that first dragon. That play was good.
That's true.
Subsequent to that, they've just been the recipient of kind of inexplicable decision-making from multiple different members of Afreeca.
Yep.
And you're allowed one. You're allowed one mistake. You're allowed Mickey, who of course is famous for overextending but creating pressure in one scenario where his team gets other things. But when Lyra, of all people, is making some really questionable decisions, that's when you know your team has got another whole problem set to worry about.
Yeah. It's interesting. And this, of course, you know, once again, if you guys have just recently joined us, this is a best of 3. This is not a best of 5 like the rest of playoffs will be. So making those mistakes, sure, you get 1, but that's it. You give up another, and there it goes. You're out of playoffs. You do not move on to face SK Telecom.
That experience term, the one that was thrown around by the JinAir coach, has to be brought up again, because JinAir have had it backs up against the wall multiple times. They're a team that's been around, they've made it to multiple playoff series. If they had gone 1 game down, you knew they would have the experienced names in their lineup to have a chance to kind of throw away a loss and come back in. But do we know that about Afreeca? Because they're definitely the team that has the fiery tempers. We've seen these guys streaming, we've seen these guys off air. I mean, Ixu and Mickey famously were having a big fight during the season as personalities, so there's no way to know what Afreeca will show up in Game 2.
Yep. Well, here we go, Death looms ever closer as On the Hunt gets popped and these giant waves of Super Crepes crash in. Nexus Tower, first one is going to fall. Ixu taking a bit of damage, has that Guardian Angel available now. But this is JinAir just pinching in. Wing gets caught, actually gets popped, cannot throw down the Lamb for Spite. Colin gets thrown out. Let's see if Afreeca can hold on for dear life. Super Creeps coming in from all sides. Trace goes in, locks down Lyra. Look at that damage come through. Has to repel out to the backside. Ixu gets popped, but Guardian Angel Gonna come up here. Pilot trying to get engaged on by Snowflower, but he just goes down. Ixu gonna fall as well. That is going to be the end of the game. 4 members up here from JinAir. Just patting these KDAs in the end. Pilot going off. Does fall to Songyun in the end. But the minions are here. Guzan coming back in. Takes down that Sivir, and this will be the game being finished off here. 35.5 minutes by the JinAir GreenWings. A little bit delayed, but still coming out on top in the end.
Deserved win for JinAir. They played solid, they played smart, even when I thought they didn't have a hope of winning a team fight. They brought off a really nice play around the mid game, winning that first dragon fight. But Afreeca Freecs, I really need to shake off what was a desperately poor game 1 for them. They started it smartly. I liked the pathing from Lyra. I liked to play with the Rift Herald. That was great, but everything subsequently, honestly, they played with desperation when they were ahead. When they were doing everything right, they played as if they were a team that desperately needed a pick or they were going to lose the game. Well, no, they actually had the stranglehold over the game. So I don't know what it was, but some sort of rush of blood to the head to first Lyra, then it was the overchase coming through from Snowflower, continuing to go for engages with a comp that doesn't engage well. They just, midway through the game, seem to forget all their prep.
Yeah. Rough stuff. But JinAir coming out on top, looking a bit more like the team that we saw several matches ago. And Afreeca completely fumbling. You have to wonder who's going to get the MVP, because I think that Afreeca's decision-making should really be the MVP as far as
Kuzan was 8-1 and 10.
Yeah, he did do.
He built Deathcap third on Rise. I can respect that.
Yeah, he did some work there. Winged as well, enabling some picks. Good Lamb's Respite for the most part to keep his team alive. Here and there. Where was it really needed? There's a very few times where he needed to throw down that ultimate, which is good overall.
What a head scratcher from Afreeca.
Yeah, you have to be wondering what's going through their heads right now and how they're going to bounce back coming into the second game. Because again, if they lose the second one, that's it. You're out of playoffs. You don't move forward, and JinAir would be the ones going on to face SK Telecom.
They fought so hard to get here, Achilles.
Let's see if they can keep fighting and take us to Game 3. When we come back, though, Game